I'm working on a little project here. I shortened that Adobe wall behind me, and I'm gonna strip the lime plaster that's on it and redo all that. But before I do that, I needed to put a cap or coping on the top to protect the top Adobes from eroding in the rain. And this is what I come up with. I have a bunch of these really old Spanish tiles. Basically, like everyone in town has a huge pile of these old Spanish tiles from when they got their new roofs put on. So thankfully I have a ton of them at my disposal. But I'm gonna head up there and show you how I've got this set up. I'll show you before I head up there. Actually, you can see where I've got my cement piled and it's kind of oozed out and it's not very pretty. That's okay, it's drying, so I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna smooth it all out. So you just need to be, I'm just being patient right now, letting it dry a bit so it'll be more pliable. I kind of did a bit on here yesterday, but it should be fairly smooth. Again, I'm novice, so it's not gonna be the best, but I'm gonna make it look a little prettier than that. Before I rant too much, I'll try to explain to you what I've got going on here. I'm gonna try to record with my left and do this all with my right. So first I'm putting a pile of concrete, and this is just a M-type, I believe the bag in Spanish, it's a masonry concrete, masonry mortar mix or something to that effect. So let me go ahead and put a little more here. I'm piling it up pretty good. And then I'm actually putting the bottom tile. So here's those old Spanish tiles. I'm gonna put the small end at the top, and as you can see, it's created an angle so the water will flow down. The point of this is to get the water to not sit and drain down through the wall. So I'm using the concrete to build it up. So we'll pull this one down. This is going to be the bottom, and we'll kind of set that in the concrete. The bottom one you want to lean as well, because if it lays flat, when the water ramps off the top one onto this one, it's just going to pool. So you want both of them to be at an angle so the water drains away. I'm going to take my little trowel, slap a bunch right here. And I'm going to put a little dabber in here. That's not really little. I didn't mean to use so much, but that's okay. Then I'm going to grab my next one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the small side at the top, and then I'm going to set that inside the other one, and then I'm going to kind of push it down so that the cement in this one and the cement that this is sitting in kind of work their way down. And be mindful of how much you have hanging off, because you want that to stay pretty uniform as you go along. You don't want this to be like a wave. Like mine's kind of funky there a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty lined up. All right, so that's the bottom, and now I'll show you how I do this part here, the top piece. So on this one, I just set the bottom tile on first, just dry, and try to see if I can get it to sit in here, kind of level. Sometimes it's hard because you can see this one's sitting higher on this side, so you might want to try to push it down a little lower. You don't want to go too crazy because in the end it'll work either way. But so there's that one set on there. Then I'm going to put a little more here so that when I put the top one on, it has a little bed of concrete to sit in here. Then I'm going to slap a little on the back of this one and take my next one, and same thing, I'll put the top side, small top side and large bottom side. By bottom I mean the angle's coming down this way, so this will be the bottom. And then I kind of just work that back and forth a little so that it sits in the concrete. And that's basically what I've done. I'm just going to continue on down. The only thing I did differently on the end is there's one that bends over the edge, is like a drip edge. When I get to that, I'll show you that. Okay, so I was saying with this piece to be patient. Don't be too patient like me though, because I let some of it dry too hard. I don't know if you can see just slightly over several feet from me, it doesn't line up perfectly with the tile. There's gaps because it was already so hard that by the time I got over to it, I had to end up like kind of shaving it off. But this right here is the perfect dryness, I'll say, and I'll show you what I mean. So it's still a little pliable, so you can actually force it up under the tile, and it'll, see how I'm getting it to line up and kind of seal right with the tile, that's what you want to do, is just leave it a little pliable. As I get further this way, it's a little too wet still, so it's kind of falling out. I'll show you. But you just want to come and smooth this out when it's still wet, but not, or it's dry, but not so dry that you can't do anything with it. And it allows you to just kind of push it in. And see here, I think it's a little too wet, so it's starting to fall off of it. So I'll let that dry a little more, but you can get the idea how when it's at the perfect dryness, you can really just smooth it up into there and make it pretty. I'm not too concerned with this thing being so perfect, but also I'd like it to look good, so I'm gonna try to smooth out this end a little better than I did on that part, but you get the idea. All right, I got her all wrapped up. On the end there, as you can see, I kind of just did a couple pieces kind of hanging over the edge, like a drip edge is kind of what I was going for. Then I just put 2 on top of that to hold it all in place with a little concrete. As you can see, as I went on, I definitely got the hang of what I was doing, and I was able to push that concrete up under those top tiles and make it look a lot cleaner. As I go back towards where I started, you can see here is where I waited too long for it to dry, so it wasn't as pliable, so I wasn't able to push it up and make it clean looking. And then here was my first day, and I was kind of trial and error that day, and so that one's a little chunky too, but maybe later I'll just take a little concrete and make a real thick batch and use my little tool for pointing. I bought a little set, and it has a little tool for pointing, so I could kind of pack some of the mix in there that's a little thicker and kind of fill in those areas. And this will just be what it is because it's dry. Unless I take a chisel and hammer to it, it's never going to be smooth. Like just underneath the top tile, I kind of smoothed it out. These ones are real chunky. I didn't really get in there. It was a hot day and I was in a hurry, and I was getting frustrated because I had just started to do this and I was trying to figure it out as I went. But a little cleaner down here, so take your time and don't forget to let this stuff dry a little and then come back and smooth it before it gets too hard. Thanks for coming along. We'll go along to the front side and get a view of how it looks from over there. So here's the front view. This is the neighbor's property, and their little roof there is what I was trying to drape that over. I was trying to bring my tile out far enough so that they hung over those tile and just drained really well away from that wall. Here's a little bit of a side view. You can see how I kind of just draped that one tile over the side and stacked that other one on top, and then just kind of piled concrete in there. Hey, for the first try, I think I did pretty good, and I'm not trying to spend a bunch of money on this project because since we share this wall, technically we're both responsible for the upkeep of it. And the guy that owns it's actually an older guy. I don't even think he lives in this town, but his brother lives next door to me, so that's how I got permission to even be working up there. But anyway, he's not helping me front the bill on those repairs and keeping that from eroding anymore, because it had eroded quite a bit, so I brought it down several feet. And since he's not helping me, I figured I would not spend too much money. And it really only cost me a bunch of bags of concrete, and they were actually on sale for like $2 a bag, so I really scored there. And then all these tile were free, and then I just had to put in the work. So it is what it is, and it was a learning experience. I hope that my video helped you to get an idea if this is something you were trying to do yourself. If not, you were just curious. Thanks for coming along. Appreciate it.